Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Betrayed Naruto Was Sheltered by Amigakure Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Sweat dripped from his brow as he went through multiple sword katas. An emotionless expression was evident on his face. The darkness of the cave may have posed a problem to anyone else, but for him, it was what defined his life, his only goal. Another swing of his sword and another boulder became his victim. His master's gaze followed his every movement as he danced around the training area of the hideout with accuracy and high precision. Another strike, another boulder. His master was sitting in his throne with a hand under his right cheek, attentively observing his protege for any form of flaw in his stances or swings. His pawn's training was coming along quite nicely, his body was still developing in the ways he had predicted. A figure stood beside the throne, indicating the presence of the master's lackey. Sharingan flared in the darkness as the training figure started to move at blinding speed, his sword-wielding arm becoming a blur as he weaved through the training posts. A fully matured level 3 Sharingan set was left glowing in the darkness as everything behind the figure slowly but surely collapsed on the ground, cleaved in pieces like butter. Those of you who think I am referring to our favorite Uzumaki Naruto, you have a long way to understand the sense of humor of Namikazeminato.7799. Why? This is why. Sasuke, this is enough training for today. Go back to your dorm. We'll start next phase of your training soon, ordered Orochimaru as he started to get up from his throne, clearly contemplating to leave the young Uchiha to his own accord. Sasuke was starting to hate this guy even more than his old fool of a teammate. Speaking of his former teammate, or rather late teammate, Sasuke still felt confused regarding the blonde. That idiot had tried to stop him even when it was clear that he would die in the process. To him it was an act of foolishness because if their situations were opposite, Sasuke would have never done what Naruto did. Kabuto had informed him that Naruto was dead when he was retrieved from the valley. To think that the Dobi would go down in such a way. Even Sasuke was finding it hard to understand the situation because something confusing had occurred that day. He had killed his friend, as the Mangekyo required, so why was he still feeling so weak? The problem was that it wasn't an easy thing to understand. He had found out a month later that his right eye was bleeding whenever he activated his Sharingan. Gazing in the mirror present in his room had shown him the reason. His Mangekyo. Apparently, somehow, Sasuke had succeeded in gaining his Mangekyo, but a tiny bitsy problem had occurred. It was only his right eye, which evolved. No matter how much he focused, how much desperate he was or how much danger he was in, his left eye refused to gain that same pattern of his Mangekyo that his right one displayed with pride. Maybe that's why he never tried to use his Mangekyo. He knew that his Mangekyo will give him unimaginable power and that he should practice with it, but he never succeeded in gathering the courage required to do it. Orochimaru and Kabuto were still unaware of this fact regarding his eyes, or rather eye, and he intended to keep it that way for as long as possible. There was nothing to gain from it, and Uchiha Sasuke never did useless things. He'll take care of his little problem on his own without Orochimaru hearing a thing about his new abilities. Madara's hideout. Zetsu, I wanted to ask you this for some time. How am I able to control him with my Sharingan? Why just me? Asked Madara as he glanced at Zetsu standing in the corner of his cave hideout. Referred person, or rather body, was currently going through an intense course of physical training consisted of push-ups, crunches, sit-ups, punching multiple boulders and kicking them with enough might to reduce them to dust. It's not like he is keyed to your Sharingan, Obito. It's just that you can control him because you have an advanced version of Sharingan. It also doesn't mean that he will stop following your orders if he ever gained Mangekyo of his own, because his brain will not get free reign of his body, seeing as he is just a walking dead body after all, explained Zetsu as he tried his best to avoid irritating the Uchiha in front of him. So we'll have to force his brain to accept me as his master for all eternity before he gains Mangekyo. Asked Toby while glancing back at his protege with keen interest shining in his dark orbs. Yes, considering how I altered his genetic data and changed his bloodline, I am sure he will awaken his Mangekyo sooner or later, answered Zetsu while turning to observe the face of the masked man in the throne, trying to read his body language to understand and predict what was going on in the head of the one-eyed Uchiha. I see. Then I must accelerate his training as much as possible, but I must say, for a dead body, he sure packs a whole lot of stamina, whispered Toby before standing up and walking forward towards the figure currently going through a series of punches and kicks. I would prefer the term, a mindless walking body, over a walking dead body, don't you agree? Asked White Zetsu as he trailed behind him. Toby just gave a grunt in response, indicating that he had heard what Zetsu said to him, but gave no further indication of replying and continued to observe the boy moving at lightning speed in front of him. From now on, this body will be referred as Naruto only, whereas the real Naruto will be referred as Pain. Naruto glanced towards the approaching figures from the corner of his eyes. He was wearing a black loose shirt with a pair of gray pants. His headband was shining clearly in the small light available in the training area. Looking closely, you will find that his looks were different as well. His whisker-like birthmarks were fading into nothingness. His face was now a little leaner with no evidence of baby fat on it. His once shiny sun-kissed golden blonde hair were now a dull and pale blonde with little shine remaining to them. His face was also a lot paler than before, as his bodily functions were not functioning like that of a living human being. His hair reached his shoulder with two bangs of long hair framing his face from both the sides. Zetsu had explained that due to the change in DNA and genes, the whiskers on his face were soon going to fade out of existence. In addition, his Mokuden nature will soon start to appear as the cells of Hashirama will finish the bonding with his body. The cells of Hashirama were taking so long to combine with him due to the presence of the real Madara's cells along with Uchiha Itachi's blood. Having the DNA of two powerful Mangekyo users was a bit too much for the body to simply accept the opposite DNA of the legendary Senju. Luckily, Naruto wasn't just anyone, he was the Kyuubi's Jinchuriki along with being an Uzumaki. If anything could control and balance the power of Uchiha and Senju, it was the Uzumaki DNA, and Naruto was a descendant of the royal Uzumaki lineage. It meant he wasn't just the last known bearer of the Uzumaki traits, he was also carrying the most potent Uzumaki genes one could hope to have. Take care of his looks. I don't want him to join the Akatsuki looking like a twin of Kyuubi's Jinchuriki or the Yondaime Hokage, ordered Toby as he continued to observe the training taking place in front of his eyes. Will do, but if I used anything other than genjutsu, then it may react to the dead body's cells. If you have any specific appearance in mind, then tell me now, said the White Zetsu as he started to try to annoy Toby. Toby just answered without paying any heed to the childish nature of White Zetsu. Make sure his Sharingan is always visible, I want everyone to know that he wields those eyes too. Also, hide those birthmarks on his face. Some of the other members are too smart to be fooled so easily, said Toby as he stared towards Obito's face in disdain. Whatever you wish, I will have to perform some surgeries too, both for your request and his body's power boost, said Black Zetsu while going through the problems he will have to face in the surgeries. What is the report of his bodily changes? Asked Toby. His body is still coping with the changes and will finish gaining the enhanced abilities by the end of this month, if everything goes in the right order, that is, answered Zetsu as he started to sink back in the ground. A lot of preparations were to be made. And Zetsu, try finding another Kekkei Genkei user, a strong one at that. After all, don't you think Obito will need a partner in Akatsuki, huh? Ordered Toby with a dark chuckle. I see, I think I already have a few individuals in mind for that purpose, answered Zetsu before disappearing in the floor. Soon I will have the ultimate weapon in the form of this little pawn, and the world will know the real power of Akatsuki. Konohagakure. Forest of Death. Jumping through the trees, the former member of the famed 12 Ninja Guardians, Asuma Sarutobi, was deep in thought. His thoughts were wandering around a certain legendary ninja, Hitaki Kakashi. The copy ninja was off the radar for a while and no one knew where the hell did he disappeared to. Even the Godime was keeping quiet about the topic, not that someone expected something so little of importance to occupy the Hokage's busy schedule. Hey Kakashi, what are you doing here? Asked Asuma as he observed his longtime friend going through some basic training regime in the outer region of the Forest of Death. Said copy ninja was in the middle of going through a hard set of push-ups when he heard his name being called. He was only sporting a black Anbu-style pants along with a sleeveless Jonin shirt, which left his Anbu tattoo in plain sight. His mask was safely secured on his face while his headband was pushed upwards to reveal his borrowed eye. Looking up from his position, Kakashi struggled to look at the newcomer. Due to the non-stop training he was doing for the last couple of hours, his legendary gravity-defying hair were sticking to his forehead protector, thanks to the sweat. Using his left hand, Kakashi pulled back his hair and his gaze shifted upwards to meet with Asuma's. What? Asked Kakashi as his gaze kept going all around for anyone else. Asuma noted the sudden tension in his muscles as his gaze refused to meet his. I asked, what are you doing here, in the Forest of Death? Asked Asuma, repeating his question once more. Oh, I was just training, trying to get back in the flow, answered Kakashi while getting back to his push-ups. Asuma clearly saw the change in Kakashi's attitude and decided to call him out on it. What's the sudden change for, huh? He asked while observing the other Jonin with a critical eye. Kakashi suddenly came to a stop in mid-push-up as he sighed. It is a requirement for my new change of job, answered Kakashi as he stood up and started dusting his finger gloves. He walked to a side and took out a canteen of water from behind a tree. Quickly downing the water in short gulps while looking away from Asuma, he replaced his mask back on his face. He was about to take out a towel when Asuma interrupted him. What job? Are you going back to being a normal non-team Jonin? He asked while giving him a quizzical raise of an eyebrow. No, I have requested to get back in the Anbu. They were more than happy to take me back in, and guess what? I am going to continue being an Anbu captain, said Kakashi as he finished his clean-up and zipped up his Jonin vest back. It was nice to talk to you, Asuma, but I am afraid we'll have to cut it short here as I have to report to Hokage-sama in a minute. See ya around, said Kakashi before disappearing in a leaf shunshin. Asuma was left standing there with a dumb-stuck look on his face. He tried to understand exactly what happened with him in the last 5 minutes or so. Amigakure. Training area. Darkness. That's what greeted him as he stood there in front of the former Anbu captain. Again, ordered Itachi with a stern voice as he kept one hand behind his back. His left hand was in front with a kodaichi held firmly within its grasp. A look of concentration was fixed on the face of Itachi as he faced the Akatsuki leader. Pain stood against Itachi with a long sword at ready, his Sharingan spinning madly as he tried to get past the Uchiha's guard. Said Uchiha was defending against him for the last hour without bucking once under the continuous onslaught of attacks, courtesy of Pain. Konan was leaning on the sidewall with a towel in her hands, her gaze fixed on the figure of her new friend, Pain. In the last 6 or 7 months, this new Pain had crawled his way in her life like a long-lost childhood friend. She knew that somewhere deep inside her heart, she still loved that face, her Yahiko's face. No matter how much she tried to keep herself distant from him and Yahiko's memories, but after finding out about the presence of Yahiko in Pain's body, she was struggling with herself. Maybe that's why she was standing with a towel at ready, intending to help the orange head in her plane of sight. Shaking her head a little to get it out of lingering thoughts of past and supposed future, she focused her concentration back on the fight. Itachi stood at ready as Pain charged with his sword ready to cleave through his kodaichi. Pain neared his form and tried to inflict fatal damage with the helpful length of his weapon, swinging it with all his might. Clang! Sparks flew in all directions as the two weapons collided at lightning speed, grinding away at each other's edge. Pain reared back his sword to deliver another strike but failed to notice the sudden shift in Itachi's stance. As Pain leaned forward to use his weight in the strike, Itachi spun on his heel and delivered a head-hammering spinning kick to his left cheek. Pain flew straight at Konan, who sidestepped at the last moment. He collided with the wall at neck-breaking speed, causing a nasty dent to appear on it. His body came crumbling down in a heap of limbs and debris. When the dust settled down, a twitching form of the orange-haired male was revealed. He was crying anime tears as he cradled his bumped head with his palms, all the while wincing at the pain. Looking up at Itachi, he glared at him and pointed an accusing finger at the blackhead. What the hell was that? Huh, you said we'll only use our weapons and then suddenly you go all taijutsu on me. Itachi, who was still in his stance, eased out of it and started to take short and slow steps towards him. Coming to a stop in front of him, Itachi gave him a stare like that of a teacher scolding a stuck-up student. In a fight, your opponents can deceive you, and trust me on this, they will deceive you. What you need to learn is to stay alert at all times, even when your opponent has a handicap. Fighting like Uzumaki Naruto won't work anymore, you must start fighting like Pain, said Itachi in a scolding tone with his eyes closed. But don't use the new body excuse. That body was shooting out ninjutsu when you weren't even born. You were walking around in that body for 7 months already, how much more time do you need? Shot back Itachi as he felt that he had crossed a line right there. Konan was just staring at the duo, both in surprise at Itachi's out-of-character speech and in concern at the look that dawned on Pain's face after said speech. Your class is over, go take a break, said Itachi as he turned on his heels and started to walk out of the room. Wait, said Pain as he struggled get back on his feet. Itachi stopped in his track and turned around to face him, gazing in his eyes with annoyance. I just wanted to say that try not to attack on my head, the memory influx is already making it hard to concentrate on the training, and if you go and kick me in the face like that, it only worsens it, said Pain as his right hand went up to hold his temple in its palm. He was swaying on his feet while his left hand tried to find something to hold onto. Konan quickly came to his aid and supported him by taking his arm around her shoulder while her right hand went back to his waist. What do you mean memory influx? What is it you are not telling me? Asked Itachi as he grew a little tense with the subject. By the looks on Pain's as well as Konan's face, this was something that they didn't intended to tell him. What do you mean memory influx? Answer me, exclaimed Itachi as he began to fear for the worse. Maybe the ritual is backfiring, but why after 7 months? No, it's just the Kyuubi messing with his brain to get a kick out of him. Alternatively, maybe it's something Zetsu did for Tobi. Something like poisoning Pain's food or injecting something in his bloodstream. Maybe it's the stress of the sudden activation of his Sharingan and training in its use. There were tons of possible explanations for this new information in Itachi's head, every other one more likely than the last one. He was a little confused and a whole lot worried, for Pain and for Naruto. Is it some sort of connection between the two bodies? It was possible after all. Pain now had the memories as well as emotions of 4 spirits in his head. Establishing a connection between his new body and his former body was something Pain was capable of without intending. He's been having nightmares consisting of memories of spiritual parts. His brain is under constant pressure from sorting out the memories flooding his mind. It's a miracle he is still sane, after reliving all the horrors of his, Yahiko's and Nagato's lives, again and again and again. Not to mention the evil disasters done by the 9 Tails. Hearing those screams again and again like it's stuck in his head is what he's been going through for these last 7 months. It was Konan who answered Itachi as he stumbled backwards to regain his footing. It was like him, only worse. When Itachi had killed all the Uchiha clan members, he had suffered through the very same mental stress. The screams and lifeless eyes were on the verge of consuming his life and soul. He had woken up in the middle of countless nights, in broken sweat, his body heating up like a volcano, eyes darting from corner to corner in an attempt to ease the racing heart under his breastbone. From what Conan told him, Naruto was going through the same problem but only 1,000 times worsened. His case was different from Naruto, as he actually had killed innocents, spilled blood with his sword. Naruto had yet to take a life in his 1.5 years-long shinobi career as a Konoha-nin. He had fought in the Third Shinobi World War, seen the horrors the war brought with it, the pain, the loss, the sorrow of separation and isolation. Naruto was still a child when he had gone to the wave, on his first real mission. Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped in some way, asked Itachi in whisper, staring at the pair with an unreadable expression on his visage. Because you would have done everything in your power to help me, that was something Naruto could have afforded, not pain. I needed you to focus on my training, to make me powerful, to teach me the way of an Uchiha. The pain was unbearable, so I went to Conan. She is giving me some medicines to dull the headache, but I am still struggling to contact the Kyuubi to get some helpful answers from it, answered Pain as he stood up straight, already feeling his Uzumaki blood working on repairs on his cheek injury. Conan was still by his side, holding him firmly. Itachi only stared at him for a while and then gave a reluctant nod, his head dipped a little as he made his way towards the orange head. Reaching forward, he reached out with his hand to touch the scalp of Pain's head. I think you must be pretty happy with your choice of body. After all, orange has been your favorite color for like eternity, said Itachi in a joking tone. He failed to give any expression though. You bet I am, answered Pain, as he made no action to back off from the touch of his brother figure, while Conan just stared at the two. Now you were saying something about struggling to communicate with the fox. Let me help you in that, said Itachi as his Sharingan morphed in its Mangekyu state before spinning hypnotically. Itachi appeared in Pain's mindscape. The very same damp sewer was present as the former Jinchuriki's mindscape. He walked forward and came to stand in front of the cage that used to house the Kyuubi until 7 months ago. The cage was obviously vacant now as the seal holding back the Kyuubi was still present on Naruto's abdomen. Before Itachi could do anything regarding the matter of communication fault, Pain appeared beside him in a crouching position. Standing up and dusting himself, he turned to face Itachi and pointed to a corner. Itachi followed his finger's aim and found a small and pitch-black door on a side. That's the connection's way, I think. It's been there since the day of ritual and I don't think I saw it open ever, said Pain as he started to walk towards the small door. Itachi just started to follow him while wondering how in the world Pain managed to appear in his own mindscape when he was using a genjutsu on par with his Mangekyu genjutsu, Tsukuyomi. Coming to a stop in front of the door, Pain turned to look at Itachi. How did you appear here? Asked Itachi as if he was waiting for him to turn around. Pain gave him a deadpanned look before tapping his temple with his index finger. I was a Jinchuriki not too long ago, remember? As a Jinchuriki, I am used to appear here either when the Kyuubi called me or when I was in desperate need of chakra boost. It's like a habit or jutsu that I can perform without think a lot, he answered as he stepped forward and touched the door. The door started to glow a shiny golden on his touch but otherwise remain unchanged. He started to try and push the door but alas, it refused to budge. Getting away from the door, he turned to look at Itachi who was deep in thought after the display of tug-of-war between the chakras. See, I tried everything, even fired a few jutsus including Rasengan. It's like this door is trying to stop me from crossing over to the other side or something, mumbled Pain as he kicked the door with all his might and succeeded in only making a loud metallic sound. I saw you try to push it open, you were even using a bit of chakra-enhanced strength, but it absorbed your chakra output and used it to strengthen itself. I think your conclusion of this door's purpose is correct. It is here to stop you from crossing over to the other body's spiritual mindscape so that the balance of the spiritual power and the physical power can be maintained and thus the equilibrium is achieved, answered Itachi as he stood there with a thinking expression on his face. When Pain gave him a sweat-dropped look, Itachi sighed and explained it to him in a little easier way. I meant, That this door keeps you and your chakra here while it does the same for your former body from the other side, said Itachi as continued to think about some way possible to get in contact with the Kyuubi. You could have said that the first time, there was no need to force me to waste the neuron cells of my brain. Exclaimed Pain as he gave him an angry look, not noticing the twitch of Itachi's eye. Naruto. Start acting like Pain or you'll be caught in a second and even I and Conan won't be able to help you. Lectured Itachi as he gave him a glare. Pain quickly sealed his mouth shut as he saw the tick marks crowding the Uchiha's forehead. Geez, you are one to talk, acting all out of your character yourself, muttered Pain, but Itachi still heard him. But before Itachi could lecture him again, Pain again started. And that damn Kyuubi Tem, I swear the next time see that gender-confused fox, I will castrate him and find out if it's a she or he. Damn manipulative, sleepy head, eyes sore, lazy ass. Before he could complete his rant, Itachi placed his hand on his mouth to shut him up. When Pain gave him a questioning glare, Itachi pointed towards the cage behind him and whispered. I don't think it was a good idea to badmouth the strongest Biju in its own lair. Confused at the words of the Uchiha, Pain turned to glance at the cage behind him, only to gain a wide-eyed look. There, in the cage behind his back was a shadow of a being he was quite familiar with if the glowing orange-red nine tails were any indication. Shit! Exclaimed Pain as he started get tense. I told you to shut up, didn't I? Said Itachi as he walked forward to come and stand in middle of his companion and the beast. It's surprising to see you on this part of the seal, Kyuubi, said Itachi as his eyes stayed connected with the slits between the bars of the cage. The shadow started to walk forward towards the duo at a slow pace. As it stepped out in the light, both the Akatsuki were a little shocked and a lot surprised at the same time. What the hell happened to you? Shouted Pain as he saw the strange change in the Kyuubi. Don't worry, Kyuubi is not turning into a sexy woman. This new Kyuubi was a little different from the last time they saw it. This Kyuubi was larger, at least double in size of the former Kyuubi. Its eyes were different as well, they were shining blue with black slits. The last thing that changed was its color. Light grayish blue fur was covering this Kyuubi with a dark blue chakra shroud covering its form. The Kyuubi gave a grunt in response before answering. This isn't my true form, Ninjin. Because of the intertwined souls that we share, my soul and spiritual prowess are still linked to your soul, forcing me to travel all the way here. Not that I am fond of this type of living, your mind is ugly as you humans could possibly have. So what you are saying is that you are inside this body? Asked Pain, pointing a thumb to his chest. As expected from you, tiny brain, this is far beyond your understanding. Though I think this Uchiha could break it down to make it understandable to you, I still have my doubts though, said the Kyuubi, punctuating his statement with boastful laughter. Hey, shut your trap, you overly grown-tailed freak. Answer my questions in straight words, otherwise, shouted Pain as he tried to make a dangerous front in the eyes of the fox. Otherwise what? You dare threaten me? Keep in mind who you are talking to. For me you nothing but a fly asking to be crushed under my paw. Thundered the Kyuubi as it smashed its tails on the bars of the cage, forcing Pain to jump back in panic while Itachi only took a calm step backwards. Hey, what the hell was that? I knew you were a gender-confused freak, but now you are a species-confused dumbhead as well. I am a human, not a fly, so improve your grammar. Exclaimed a panic-stricken Pain as his Sharingan flared to life, sensing the killing intent being leaked by the Biju. So he doesn't know about it. It means the Uchiha didn't tell him, thought the Kyuubi before lying down on the floor. Alright, I will try using the language of your illiterate mind. My soul was linked with your at the time of the sealing performed by the Yondaime. The Shiki Fujin Yondaime used is powered by the Shinigami itself, thus making it impossible to break. When your soul was transferred, my soul got transferred as well. Yawning in a break, the Kyuubi continued, the seal is physically present on your former body, that's why my physical form and physical yukai is still sealed in it. Whereas my soul and conscious, along with my spiritual mana is present here, with you. If you'll try channeling some of my mana, you'll see that the seal will appear on your abdomen as well, finished the Kyuubi while eyeing the now serious pain. It's not like the Kyuubi was fond of this pain persona, but it was just a little more tolerable than the former Naruto. The Kyuubi would prefer pain over Naruto any day without giving it a second thought. The only thing it hated about pain was that this new host possessed something it despised with the very being of itself. Sharingan. Those accursed eyes were the sole reason why the humans even managed to tame the almighty Kyuubi no Kitsune. No, taming wasn't the suitable term, caging would be more precise, as the power of the Kyuubi was untamable. The Nine-Tails Yukai was so poisonous in its basic state that it could kill whole villages with just a whiff of it. The only thing or rather person the Kyuubi hated more than Sharingan was Uchiha Madara and that impostor who controlled it on the night of the Konoha's destruction. Still, this body was somewhat tolerable as it had small yet omnipresent fragments of the sage's chakra. The Rinnegan. That was the only dujutsu the Kyuubi could tolerate the presence of in its host. Those eyes gave the impression of power, something the Kyuubi was addicted to. If its host possessed those eyes of the legends, then maybe the Kyuubi no Kitsune would consider siding with him. Until then, as long as he doesn't go and get himself in a life-threatening situation, Kyuubi will only observe his life from the inside. So is there any way this memory influx to cause less pain? I mean, it's getting more painful by each passing day, asked Pain as he took a seat on the floor in front of the Kyuubi's large snout. Itachi just stood there and decided to try and observe how a Biju and a Jinchuriki conversed. I shall refuse to help you and enjoy watching you wriggle in pain, but you'll only start pestering and annoying me. So here is the idea, there is only one way for you to get some relief, and that is dividing the memories in sections. Ever went to a library? Try stocking the memories in different shelves. It will reduce the pressure on your brain as well as the pain, answered the Kyuubi as it shifted its head on its front paws. Okay, I can do that, but any idea how long it will be before I receive all the memories? Asked Pain in a hopeful tone. The Kyuubi gave him an irritated look for a whole minute before answering. It will take around 2 more months, but be warned. The worst memories are yet to come, same goes for the pain. What do you mean by worst memories? Asked Pain and Itachi at the same time. I am not compelled to answer any of your questions, now leave. Said the Kyuubi in a commanding tone, leaving little to argue on. Tisk. I knew you were just trying to make my life more miserable. Guess what? I think you might as well be a gay, muttered Pain under his breath. Unfortunately for him, the Kyuubi heard him. For the last time, I am a male kitsune. Now leave before I chew your heads off. 5 months later. Kirigakure. Battlefield. A battered and bruised Hidan stood in the middle of a swamp of corpses, grinning maniacally as he gave the man in front him an evil look. What do you think we should do now, Deidara sucker? Asked Hidan in his own personal style of conversation. Deidara's eyebrow started to twitch as he tried control his anger. Hidan was just trying to taunt him and get him to start a fight with him, which would only end up being a nasty mistake on Deidara's part. They were right now just outside the clearing where the camp of the rebels used to be. Now the civil war was over and the rebels had taken over the village without much effort, seeing that our 2 mad Akatsukis had taken care of the other side. The new Mizukage knew about them and their activities on the battlefield. Maybe that's why she had ordered her soldiers to retreat the second they spotted these 2. Now I think we should deliver the special package to Leader Sama. I am sure he would love to hear from us, HN. Answered Deidara as he made clay birds for both of them as well as the package. Giving a long lingering glance to the battlefield under them, Deidara smirked. Explosion sure is an art. With that, the 3 birds took off, their destination. Amigakure. Amegakure. Pain's office. Pain. Deidara and Hidan are back and they have brought a package with them. I think you should meet them right now, said Konan as she stood by Pain's side, a neutral expression present on her face as she stared at her leader. I know it's important and all that, but I am not feeling well right now. Tell them I will meet them in an hour or so, said Pain as he sat on the ledge of his balcony. A screaming statue's head was coming out of the building under him. Conan grew concerned and walked forward to stand behind him, giving him a once-over for any kind of visible signs of sickness. Finding none, she moved forward and sat down beside him, looking over the raining clouds as they thundered with lightning once in a while. The lightning was indicating that Pain wasn't feeling well emotionally. Even though rain was a common sight in Amigakure, one could hardly say that they have seen clouds thundering over their heads in the moist environment of AIM. Despite being a land of rain, lightning was a rare sight in AIM as the most of the rain was non-seasonal. What's the matter? Why are you so upset all of a sudden? You know you can tell me anything, right? Asked Conan as she placed a hesitant hand on his shoulder, forcing him to look towards her. Their eyes met, and for once, Conan could swear she could see a lonely child in his eyes, desperate for some comfort. His eyes turned from left to right as he tried to come up with some explanation for his changed emotions. I think there is no lying to you. The Kyuubi is making it hard for me, you know. He keeps sending in the nightmares of my birth night. The death of my parents, their last words about how much they loved me, how much they were going to miss me. The Kyuubi's paw driving through both of them as he roared in rage. They lifeless dull eyes of my mother and the small smile on my father's pale face as he sacrificed his soul for that cursed village, continued Pain as he struggled to maintain his composure. Conan could see it was breaking him, so she tried to come up with an idea to cheer him up. Pain, do you hate your father, the Yondaime, for sealing the Kyuubi in you? Asked Conan as she observed his facial features for any kind of emotion. No, I mean yes, I was angry for a while after finding out that the man who gave me the curse of my life was my own father, but after gaining the memory of his last words, said Pain as he remembered the words clear as crystal. You are my son and I am sure you can control the Kyuubi's power. I regret doing this to you, but I have a duty to my people. I am sorry, Naruto. I know you'll grow without any parents, without a finger to teach you how to walk, with the shoulders to give you a ride, but know this. I'll always be watching over you, and no matter what you do, I'll always be proud of you because you are my son and I love you. I am more angry at those villagers who he sacrificed his life and his son for. My father was a legendary shinobi and a noble man, but those bastards used his nobility for their own gain. How dare they treat me like they did after my father's sacrifice, after my sacrifice? Conan only gave a nod of understanding and squeezed his shoulder to show her support. Now I can see why you were the best suitable choice for the title of Pain of AIM. After all the hardships you endured in your short life in Konoha, all the pain and sufferings you had to go through, I would have been surprised if someone else was a better option, said Conan as she looked forward at the now silent rain. How is your Fuinjutsu training going? Not like there is someone here who could teach you, but still, asked Conan in an attempt of changing the subject of their small talk. For once Pain gave her a smile, a genuine smile that somehow managed to reach her heart, compiling her to give a smile of her own. It's good. I think I am at the intermediate level of the last book that you gave me. I can make seals in the air with my chakra when I am focusing to the fullest. Other than that, there are a few new seals I am working on, but I assure you, they are quite useful, answered Pain honestly. Conan gave him a suspicious look via her narrowed eyes but nodded nevertheless. So you were saying you are having trouble sleeping for the last couple of days? She asked as he gave a short nod. Why didn't you tell me, or Itachi? Asked the brunette, curiosity getting the better of her as she tried to get to know the reason behind his actions. Well, you see, I just wanted to deal with this problem of mine on my own. Concerning any of you anymore will only increase your headache, and believe me, I know what a bad headache feels like, said Pain as he started to stand up. Conan's gaze followed his every move as he started to walk towards his quarters. Where are you going? Asked Conan as she too stood up. I think I am gonna take a short nap. I can at least try to get a little nightmare-free sleep in a while, right? answered Pain with sarcasm as he reached his room's door, which was on the left side of his office. All right, I will tell Deidara and Hidan that you'll meet them in the evening, said Conan as she walked off. Pain just stood there, his eyes following Conan as she disappeared on the edge of the waiting hall. Sighing to himself for nearly losing control of his emotions in front of her, he unlocked the door and walked in, intending to get a nap. After a while, Pain had slept like a baby without a care in the world. Now he was starting to stir a little as he started to wake up from his not-so-short nap. Waking up, he glanced at the wall clock in the corner of his room and decided to head back to his office for his meeting with Deidara and Hidan. It wasn't like he was looking forward to meet the two hard-head Akatsukis, but as their leader he was entitled to some miseries such as this one. Listening to Deidara brag about his so-called art while Hidan continuously swore for God knows how long, maybe Jashin will know, meh. Just as Pain resigned himself to his fate and tried to jump out of his bed as he always did, he felt a resistance around his chest. Trying again but failing again due to the same resistance, he decided to investigate the problem. Removing the covers from his body, he confirmed that no one was sleeping over him. He was about to try again when a small moan from behind him forced him to freeze with shock. Looking again with more care this time, he spotted a pale hand clutching his torso tightly as the owner of that hand snored in the crook of his neck. Tilting his head a little, he came face to face with a sleeping beauty named Conan. He gave her a confused look but started to get red in the face as the awkward situation sank in. Jumping out of the bed with the speed of a victim of 1,000 years of pawn, he nearly smashed his head in the ceiling. He landed in a heap on his bedside as Conan woke up from all the commotion. Looking around for Pain, she failed to notice him lying on the floor on the other side of the bed, twitching occasionally. Finally, Pain stood up and started to stutter and sprouting nonsense. Hey, I mean we didn't do that, right? She asked with nervousness. Conan gave him a knowing look before removing the covers to show her still fully clothed minus her cloak. I just thought that if you were having trouble sleeping on your own then maybe you'll feel better sleeping with someone else, she said while rising from the bed and downing her cloak around her figure. Yeah, it did help and I had a great sleep, but where are you going? Asked frowning Pain as he saw her reaching for the doorknob. Turning around, she gave him a raise of eyebrow before answering. We are going to meet with Deidara and Hidan. They arrived back from their mission today, remember? Oh, right, those two. Let me just get my cloak, said Pain as he hurriedly threw his cloak over his shoulders as he exited the quarters along with the blue-haired beauty. Toba's hideout. Again, I do not want a failure as my disciple. Start over again, said Toby in a stern voice as he sat in his throne while observing the training of Obito. From his face, one could tell that he was a little frustrated as his disciple was giving him some trouble in learning the fighting style of all the Uchihas. The problem was the brute strength behind his every attack. The Uchiha intercepting style was based on quick maneuvering and striking at lightning fast speed. That's right, speed, not strength. Obito on the other hand was still struggling with the style as his body was built as that of a senju. The power behind his attacks was far too great for the style to balance it out. Swisch. Another Zetsu clone went down to his knees, clutching his chest cavity, which was now turned to mush thanks to Obito's single devastating strike. All the remaining Zetsu clones jumped back as one of them suffered his fate in the middle of the arena. Just as they were about to continue their fight again, the original Zetsu appeared in the middle of the arena. Obito paused in mid-swing of his left feet as his knee came within an inch of Zetsu's face. Don't interrupt ever again, said Obito in calm yet deadly tone which would have made Uchiha Madara proud. Slowly he eased in a standing position as the Zetsu clones hurried out of the arena, glad to have bestowed a few more hours of existence. What happened, Zetsu? I don't think I called you, asked Toby as he stood up from his throne and started to walk towards the two forms of his subordinates. My apologizes, but I have something you requested a while back, answered Zetsu as he bent down and touched the floor with his left hand while his right rose to form a ram seal. The floor parted in front of him to reveal a coffin. The coffin rose from the floor to its full height as the seal on it shone proudly in front of the Sharingan holder. It was a normal-looking coffin with the same shape as any other, but there was a conservation seal present on its head. "What is it for?" asked Toby with a raised eyebrow. "Why didn't you ask for a partner for Obito? This is the individual that I judge to be the best choice for the job," answered Zetsu as he moved forward to approach the coffin. Raising his hand, he laced it with chakra before placing it on top of the seal. The seal started to glow a bright red before shimmering away in an oddly manner. Moving back, he placed his other hand on top of the lid and gave it a tug to open it. He had to jump back a little as the lid nearly came falling down on his toes. The coffin opened to reveal a female, a definite kunoichi if her well-maintained body was any indication. She was quite tall and reached around Toba's ear level in height. Her hair were made in a spiky bun behind her head while some strands of her blue hair fell in front of her face as well. Her lips were ruby red due to some long-done makeup and a little dried blood alike. She was garbed in a green jacket with a red undershirt while she was wearing a pair of blue pants. A light purple slash was holding her jacket in place around her waist. Grayish blue eyeshade was complementing her closed eyelids as her chest rose and fell with her breathing. "Who is she and where did you get her from?" asked Toby as he stared at the woman in front of his eyes. As far as he was concerned, this woman was giving off an aura of a determined fighter who will do anything to overcome her opponent. As for Obito, if his master approved of her, then there was nothing he will object about, for his master knew everything, which was good for him. "Oh, you see, until recently she was a loyal subordinate of a long-time enemy. I found her in the outskirts of Nami no Kuni where she was stationed. She has some useful abilities including an extinct Kekkei Genkei. I tried to knock her out but she is a determined fighter so I ended up killing her, but don't worry, I merely knocked her in a comatose state. She will be a powerful partner for Obito," answered Zetsu as he glanced at the knocked-out woman. "Yet you yourself said she was loyal to her former master. What did you do to make sure she doesn't betray me in future?" asked Toby as he could now sense the power coming from the woman. It wasn't anywhere near his level or that of any other Akatsuki, but it was still quite impressive. "I knew you'd ask that. I brainwashed her before using some of my experimental liquids on her. She is now just like Obito was a year ago, ready to be molded in any way you deem necessary," said Zetsu as he continued to spare glances towards Toby through the corner of his yellow orb of an eye. "What was her name again?" This time it was Obito who asked the question. "Her name is Gurren." In the meeting, Pain's office. Pain was sitting in his seat while Conan stood behind him on his left side. In front of him were the two biggest idiots of Akatsuki, Deidara and Hidan. Luckily, both of them had performed outstanding in their last mission in Kurigakure's civil war. Now grinning like a maniac, Hidan was standing in front of them while hefting his scythe on his right shoulder, displaying his blood-covered torso. They had a complete afternoon to do whatever they wanted, yet this dumbhead forgot to take a bath after returning from a bloody mission. Deidara on the other hand was giving him a cocky smirk that was suspiciously giving a feeling of lack of information to Pain. Maybe there was something he knew that Pain didn't. Either way, those expressions were just begging to get wiped right off of their faces as Pain tried not to just punch both of them in the face. "Get your horses under control and get on with the report, will you?" said Pain in an irritated voice. Deidara looked at Hidan, who only gave him a swing of his scythe, indicating the stage was all his for taking. Grunting a bit in annoyance, Deidara stepped forward and started to report. "As ordered, we infiltrated the damn country, did some information gathering not thanks to this zombie standing here," he said pointing at Hidan who just gave him a middle finger, causing Deidara to growl. "Then we found the bases of both sides and started to spy on them. It seems that the Mizukage was trying everything in his power to kill off every Kekkei Genkei holder, while this beauty named Mei Terumi was leading the rebels because apparently she has 2 Kekkei Genkeis. Finally we started to take action in favor of the rebels as you ordered that we need a new leader in Kiri for our plans to advance. Mei Terumi is quite a smart chick as she ordered her men to get their asses out of our ways whenever we appeared. Good things she did because in the rush of the battle, Hidan almost sacrificed few of the rebels, hee. Payne's eyebrow twitched as he massaged his head. A headache was coming, that was something he was sure of. Anyways, we ended the war by using my C4 on half a platoon of Yondaime Mizukage's shinobis. Those bitches didn't even know what hit them until my art reduced them to ashes. Then the rebels came and we decided to howl our asses out of there before an awkward moment could take place between Hidan and Mei. Later we heard that she was instated as the Godime Mizukage of Kiri and is building the village back so it can be restored to its former glory. Damn man, that was a long ass reporting, right? Finished Deidara as he tried to take a seat in front of Payne. You do realize what you are about to do, right? Asked Conan as she saw him pulling a chair. Deidara stopped in mid-action and stared at her before focusing on Payne's face, which displayed hidden anger. Gulping audibly, he backed off and stood beside Hidan. And what is this about a package I am hearing? Anything I should know? Asked Payne as he gave them a sore eye. Yeah, I am sure you'll love it, whatever you want to call that bitch. Just make sure you teach that bastard a lesson. He nearly beheaded me and in absence of Kakuzu I would have been forced to carry my own head back here to get a fix. I hope you don't mind the blood because it's his blood and I am not washing it for a while, it's like a trophy for me, ya know. Shouted Hidan in a much lower volume than he was famous for among the Akatsuki. Deidara, can I see this package, now? Exclaimed Payne as his head started to ache. Conan just gave his shoulder a squeeze as she looked at him sympathetically. Deidara made a motion with his hand and a couple of soldiers of Amigakure came in with a huge-ass scroll. They placed it in the middle of the room and left the Akatsukis to their own business. Deidara came forward and knelt down to shuffle with the scroll. There was a puff of smoke before it dispersed to reveal a ninja of Kiri. A Kiri headband with a bandana on his head, gray-colored hair with an eye patch on his right eye. We found this bitch trying to follow us, he nearly succeeded in sneaking on us but alas, things happened and here we are, said Deidara as the shinobi remained unconscious. What's so special about him that forced you to go through so much trouble of bring him here? Asked Conan as she walked forward. Deidara just lifted the eye patch to reveal a Byakugan eye. Conan, take a look at that eye for me after this meeting, alright? Asked Payne with narrowed eyes as Conan gave him a nod of understanding. Now for the bigger price, he let me present you, this bastard. Exclaimed Hidan as he unsealed a short figure. This new figure had gray blonde hair with green covering around his neck, a pair of gray shirt and pants was covering his bloodied body as his pink eyes stared at Payne in disdain. Conan gasped but succeeded in controlling herself, while Payne walked forward and knelt down in front of the short figure. Hidan and Deidara gave him a confused look which went unnoticed by the Akatsuki leader. Hello Yagura, Yondaime Mizukage. RWAAAAA. Came a roar from the crowd of mad people as Sasuke activated his Sharingan. His Sharingan was still having the problem with his Mangekyo. He had chalked it to the lack of closure with Naruto at the time of his death. After all, what other reason was possible for such a case of abnormality to occur? Go on Sasuke-kun, we haven't got all day you know, said a smirking Kabuto in a cocky voice. Oh, he will enjoy seeing the Uchiha struggle. What's making you smirk like that, Kabuto? Do you seriously want me to wipe that smirk of yours with my blade? Said Sasuke in a monotone, effectively wiping the smirk off of the medic's face. Don't try using that tone with your betters, Sasuke-kun, or you'll end up regretting it, said a frowning Kabuto as he glared at the Uchiha while adjusting his glasses on his nose. I don't see any of my betters here, or were you referring to yourself? The scowl on Kabuto's face deepened as he struggled to find a suitable reply to that. Who was he fooling anyways? He knew Sasuke was strong enough to deliver a fatal wound in a fraction of a second. Not to mention that the Uchiha was smart enough to come up with a counter for his special fast healing technique. What happened to Orochimaru? Why isn't he here to teach me? Asked Sasuke, though he had his suspicions about the absence of the snake Sanin. Orochimaru-sama isn't feeling well, and will not train you for maybe a month, so I suggest you try getting cozy with these new friends of yours, answered Kabuto as he turned around and started to walk out of the dungeons. Sasuke stared at the retreating figure of the silver-haired medic. After getting rid of Itachi, the only one Sasuke will take the time of his day to kill was Yakushi Kabuto. The med nin was starting to become more and more cocky by each passing day. Though he just gave him a good news. If Orochimaru was really suffering from the decaying of his current body, then it meant Sasuke will never get a better opportunity in getting out of Orochimaru's control. Cough, cough, cough. Kabuto, how is Sasuke-kun's training coming up? Before the snake Sannin could finish his sentence, he was overcome by another coughing fit which was becoming a frequent occurrence. Kabuto stared at his master with worry shining in his eyes behind the spectacles as he increased his speed of grinding the herbs for the Sannin's medicine. Finishing yet another long sequence of coughs, Orochimaru slowly lowered his palm from his mouth. Dark red blood was glittering on his hand, which didn't go unnoticed by the medic in the room. Sasuke-kun's training is going at a considerate pace, Orochimaru-sama, but if I may, asked a hesitant Kabuto as Orochimaru gave him a nod. Sasuke-kun is getting ahead of himself. His behavior is changing suspiciously, and I am sure there is something going on in his mind, which won't good for us. Sensing the changes in his behavior and your degrading health, I'd suggest the soul transfer ritual must be performed in the next couple of days, completed Kabuto as he finished grinding the herbs. I know, Kabuto, Sasuke-kun is planning something, but both of us know that whatever he plans, he will never succeed as long as I am alive. I will have his body and then I will have those eyes, Sharingan ku, said Orochimaru as he placed a hand on the left side of his face. Kabuto walked towards the bed of the snake Sannin and handed him the saucer containing the freshly made medicine. Orochimaru took the saucer and without giving it a second thought, downed all of its contents in his mouth. As soon as he drank the bad-tasting medicine, his body gave another lurch and he started to cough violently. The saucer fell from his hand and smashed into the stone floor of the room, pieces flying in every corner. I'll be going now. We have a situation in the South Hideout, after Guren's disappearance that places is still in an uproar. Informed Kabuto as he walked towards the door and quickly left the room. Disappearing in the dark corridors of the hideout. Just as Kabuto left, Sasuke appeared in front of the room. His sword drawn and a look of determination in his eyes, both of which showed the level 3 Sharingan. Opening the door, he walked in to find a sick Orochimaru resting on the bed. Upon his arrival, the Sannin opened his eyes and stared at him for a while, before giving a chuckle as the response. Sasuke-kun, even when I knew you'll be making your move soon, I didn't know it would be right now, said the pale-skinned man as he sat upright in his bed, hands on his lap. If you knew I'll be coming, then it's safe to assume you also know why I am here. Asked Sasuke as his grip on his sword tightened. Of course, or have you forgotten who am I? Asked Orochimaru in response. I thought it was your teammate's field of work, never pictured you as the information-gathering type, answered Sasuke as he started to walk towards the bed. Orochimaru just chuckled in response as prepared himself for the soul transfer ritual. Just as he raised his hand to make the necessary hand seal, Sasuke threw his sword at him and pinned his hand to the back wall. The sword was covered in lightning chakra and started to send jolts of lightning in the Sannin's body. Orochimaru gritted his teeth as he struggled to get the sword out of his palm. Before he could succeed, a set of shurikens came flying from Sasuke's hands, covered in chakra, and pinned him down on his bed. Even the great snake Sannin is nothing when suffering from illness, such a pity. I would have fought you more just for the fun of it, but in this state of being, you'll only struggle to keep that body from falling apart in the middle of the fight, said Sasuke as he started to go through a set of famous hand seal. Orochimaru's eyes grew wide in alarm on recognizing the seals. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu, Fire Release. Great Fireball Technique. A blazing ball of fire came out of Sasuke's mouth and sped towards the pinned Sannin at blinding speed. It smashed in the wall and singled the whole side of the room. Orochimaru's screams of agony were soon resounding in the hallways as the Sannin was nearly burnt to crisp. Finally, when Sasuke cancelled the jutsu, the fire died down, revealing a body of Orochimaru with third-degree burns covering it, smoking coming out of various parts of the body. The smell of burned flesh filled the air as the snake Sannin started to cough loudly. On hearing the coughing, Sasuke turned to glance at his face again. Blood was dripping from Orochimaru's lips as he struggled to recover from the coughing fit and third-degree burn alike. Frowning a little, Sasuke fully turned around to face the Sannin again. I admit I underestimated you, Orochimaru. I thought one of those will be enough to kill you, but now I see I was wrong. It must be hurting a lot, right? Don't worry, I'll be merciful and this next one will definitely end your pathetic existence, said Sasuke as he started to go through the same hand seals. He was interrupted by the sudden evolvement of Orochimaru's coughing into a full-blown laughter. Ku, you really think you can kill me, Sasuke-kun? That I would be a fool enough to teach you everything I know. You are 100 years early in your attempt of killing me, boy, came the voice from behind the smoke. As Sasuke stared at the smoke, he saw Orochimaru's body changing. Thousands and thousands of snakes started to come out of his skin and cover him. His mouth started to stretch at inhuman lengths as his hair started to cover his face. Clang, clang, clang. One by one, the shurikens embedded in his body started to fall on the floor, and finally his sword joined the projectile weapons as well. Sasuke backed away just as a huge snake emerged from the smoke. Yellow shining eyes started at him in a mixture of greed and anger. A snake-like tongue coming out of its mouth again and again. Black hair of Orochimaru adorning the snake's head and white scales covering the rest of the body. You really think you can kill me? I knew that you'll try to kill me and I decided to let that happen. That's why you succeeded in attacking me just a moment ago. But now that you know how hopeless you are, I will take your body as my soul's next vessel. Prepare to be devoured, Uchiha! Thundered the snake as it gave a dangerous hiss. Sasuke immediately started to form hand seals at a fast pace. Determined to get out of this hideout and fulfill his lifelong ambition. Unfortunately, a sword came out of the snake's mouth and went straight through his right palm and shoulder, effectively filling out any use of ninjutsu in the fight. The snake reared back before springing forward and devouring the upper torso of the Uchiha. Inside Orochimaru's world, Sasuke found himself in a dark world. Wherever he looked, all he could see was darkness stretched to the end of the horizon. He was about to start looking around when suddenly a cage appeared around him, along with Orochimaru. This is my world, Sasuke-kun, now you can't escape from here. I will get that body no matter how much you try to resist, said Orochimaru as he gave him a smirk, ready to devour him. Sasuke tried to move, but much to his dismay, there was a fleshy thing bubbling under him, clinging to his feet as it rose higher and higher on his body. He again tried to move, this time focusing on the resistance on his lower body, but all he managed was a twist of his neck. Slowly but surely, he realized that it wasn't the pinkish goo that was restricting his movement, it was his own body which was refusing to obey him. All he could feel was the contracting muscles in his biceps and shins as he made a decision. He will need some extra help to break out of this mess, a power boost, something strong enough to sting the Sannin in order to provide him a chance of escaping this world. Coming up with a plan that was the only course of action possible at the time being, Sasuke stopped his struggling and closed his eyes. Finally submitting yourself to me, Sasuke-kun, teased Orochimaru as a grin started to spread across his face. After 3 long years of finding the Uchiha, giving him the curse seal, seducing him for power and finally training him for almost 2.5 years, he was now going to get what he had planned for so long. Sharingan, the ultimate dujutsu that will allow him to copy countless jutsus for study and research in making himself truly immortal. Just as the pink goo started to reach for Sasuke's neck, his curse's seal started to flare up and tribal flame patterns started to appear on his skin. Purple chakra started to seep out of the seal as it battled the soul transfer jutsu Orochimaru was using. This surprised Orochimaru because the curse seal was an extension of his own soul and right now, it was fight his own chakra right in front of his eyes. What kind of treachery is this? Exclaimed Orochimaru as he struggled to maintain the jutsu. Unfortunately, before he could handle the wobbling balance of his chakra, he made mistake of staring at Sasuke's right eye. Sasuke opened his right eye to reveal his Mangekyo Sharingan spinning madly, focusing on the Sannin. Sasuke sent a huge load of his chakra to his right eye. The eye started to bleed as the Sannin suddenly found himself losing the control of the world. One by one, cracks started to appear in the dark world as the genjutsu started to lift off. Back in real world, Sasuke soon found himself standing on the floor with his bust in the jaws of the snake. Instantly using a short burst of Raiden chakra, he electrocuted the snake, forcing it to back off with a dangerous hiss of pain and anger. Taking out the sword still pinned in his shoulder, Sasuke used the same sword and jumped towards the snake with anger flashing in his eyes. Now back to his normal Sharingan, Sasuke gave the snake-transformed Sannin a kick to the left side of his face while using his unused arm to ram a short Chidori under the snake's chin. The snake recoiled backwards in pain and collided with the back wall of the room. Taking the small moment of disturbance as an excellent opportunity, Sasuke ran forward and impaled the throat of the snake with the sword. It went straight through the lower jaw and came out from the middle of its eyes, finally ending its journey at the point of a good 4 inches inside the wall. As the snake's struggling came to a stop, Sasuke raised his hand to his face and wiped the blood leaking from his right eye. He stood there for a moment, staring at the blood smeared on his palm, trying to contemplate what he will do next. Finally, he decided to just leave the hideout as soon as possible lest gamble the chances of getting all the Kusa shinobi hot on his tail. Standing and looking around for his sword, Sasuke soon spotted the blue-handled sword buried in the floor near the gate. Walking briskly to the door, he retrieved his sword before turning around to stare at the snake still impaled on the wall. Tisk! And the door was slammed shut. Just as the chakra signature of Uchiha Sasuke left the vicinity, the stomach of the snake started to contract. Pulsing a little before being torn from the inside, the stomach parted to reveal a gasping snake Sannin. Orochimaru came out of the snake's body on trembling legs before collapsing on the floor, his hands shooting upwards to massage his throat. Even though his physical appearance was that of a defeated shinobi, his eyes shone with barely contained rage towards the Uchiha responsible for his condition. Kabuto. Outside the hideout, 7 miles in west. Looking behind, all he could see was fast-moving lush green tree leaves and branches as he jumped from tree to tree at his best speed at the current moment. Fighting Orochimaru in his own world had been quite taxing on him as he was suffering from the backlash of using the Mangekyo. Now he was seriously regretting not training his Mangekyo in his time under Orochimaru's wing. Now, he knew that Itachi wasn't just going to come to him, looking for a fight. If he wanted to fight the elder Uchiha, then he will have to track him down. Tracking down a shinobi was not an easy task though, and tracking down an Akatsuki was even more nerve-wrecking task than killing 100 bandits. Sasuke was many things. He was strong, smart, cunning, conservative, but a fool was not one of them. He knew that to find a whereabouts of Itachi, he will have to track a member of the International Criminal Organization. If the situation went out of control and he was forced to fight an Akatsuki, it would definitely spell trouble for him. Akatsuki members weren't the shinobi one would try to have a face-off with, they were ranked S-class for a reason after all. To take down any shinobi of that much caliber, he will need help, and he knew exactly where to look. That's why he was going to the western hideout in the country of waterfalls. 2 potential recruits were stationed in that hideout and Sasuke was sure they will join him in his conquest. Sasuke's thoughts were interrupted when his Sharingan caught a hint of movement in front of his location. Without stopping for even a second, he started to draw his sword from its sheath. Right as he was about to reverse his grip on the sword's handle, a figure appeared on the horizon of his sight as the dark shadow of the person traveled at lightning speed on the forest floor. Before Sasuke could balance his grip on the sword, the figure stepped on a tree branch before jumping forward with tremendous strength, reducing the branch to splinters. The figure was flying right towards him as Sasuke steeled his resolve to fight this stranger. However, the figure completely ignored the presence of the Uchiha and twisted himself a little and passed the startled Sasuke with a hair-thick space to spare. The person had his eyes focused forwards as the time slowed considerably while Sasuke's Sharingan tried to study the person. Just the way the person now confirmed shinobi had appeared, he disappeared behind Sasuke as Sasuke came to a sudden halt in his flight. Landing swiftly on a branch, Sasuke processed the visual information his Sharingan has managed to gather about the stranger in that fraction of a second. Blonde hair, fair skin, tall, almost as tall as Sasuke, and that cloak. The Akatsuki cloak. Maybe he can finally get some information on the way of fighting of at least one of their members. If everything went as he hoped it would, he will get to copy that Akatsuki's fighting style as well. With his next course of action present in his mind, Sasuke took a 180 and quickly started to head back towards Orochimaru's hideout's direction. What he couldn't quite understand was what was this Akatsuki doing in this area of the forest. As far as Orochimaru told him, the Akatsuki were not pleased by the sudden betrayal of Orochimaru and wanted something back from him, something of great importance to the organization. Maybe this Akatsuki was here to collect that important thing. If that was right, then he was definitely heading towards the hideout to face Orochimaru. He may have failed to kill the Sannin himself, but he had wounded him pretty badly and that would definitely play in the Akatsuki's favor. Looking forward, Sasuke failed to spot the cloaked figure that he was following. The Akatsuki was fast, too fast for his liking, and to top it off, Sasuke himself wasn't moving at his top speed because of the fatigue his body was feeling after facing of a Sannin, even if the said Sannin was ill. With his next destination set as the hideout, Sasuke pushed his body to its limit to at least get there in time for some opportunity of taijutsu copying. Orochimaru's hideout. Throne room. Orochimaru was standing in front of a group of shinobi widely known as the Sound Four. On his left was Kabuto and on his right was Kimamaru. The last no-wielder of Dead Bone Pulse was glaring at his feet as he remembered how many times that damn Uchiha had belittled him in front of his master. Try using those skinny bones of yours against my sword, it will make it clear that you are beneath me. Those words were still fresh in his memory and he'll make him eat those words for his master. To think he had the nerve to attack Orochimaru-sama in his own lair. Kimamaru always knew there was something weird with the way the Uchiha acted around the hideout. He had pointed out the fact in front of Orochimaru, but the Sannin had supported the Uchiha. Now the same Uchiha had betrayed them. Nothing new there after all. For the sake of more power, he was willing to betray his own home village, a village as powerful as Konoha. He was seriously either out of his mind or lacking in the field of brains. The Sound Four were upset with the Uchiha as well because in order to fetch him, they had nearly died. If they hadn't retreated when the Konoha's reinforcements arrived, then they would have been buried under the ground somewhere right now. All four of you, head to a separate hideout and deliver the message. Uchiha Sasuke is to be hunted down throughout the elemental nations. I want his body. He possesses the last pair Sharingan I need in order to gain the unimaginable power. Complete this task and I will give you reward you can only imagine, ordered Orochimaru as he downed a vial full of purple liquid. As soon as the liquid entered his body, he started to feel better. The color of his skin began to turn pale instead of the dull one it previously was. His eyes started to shine as they used to and his back started to straighten. The Sound Four kneeled down in front of their master and in unison only seen in well-trained shinobi answered. As you wish, Orochimaru-sama. Boom. The roof of the throne room collapsed like a leaf as it came crashing down on the floor of the hideout hidden beneath. A cloud of dust and smoke erupted from the spot where the broken part of the ceiling crashed and obscured the view of everyone in the area. Orochimaru, Akatsuki have summoned you, came a calm and collected voice from behind the dust cloud. Quickly using a short burst of futon chakra, Orochimaru pushed the dust out of the room via the newly made hole in the ceiling. The dust disappeared to reveal a crouching form of a male adorning the famous cloak of the Akatsuki. Blonde hair were all that greeted them as they reached in front of his face all the way to the edge of his lips. He also had a thick ponytail on the back of his neck with a necklace gleaming on his neck. "Who are you, if I may ask, because I don't remember you being in the Akatsuki?" asked Orochimaru as he started to handle the situation in the best way he deduced. The man didn't answer. Instead, he stood up to his full height, revealing a face long since thought to be dead. Orochimaru was sure, even if the whisker marks were absent, this was the face of one Uzumaki Naruto. However, what actually caught his eye was the blank expression the Uzumaki's face. Quickly motioning towards his shinobi in the room, Orochimaru soon had Naruto surrounded by his sound 5+ Kimamaru from all sides. "Ah, Naruto-kun, such a surprise, I thought Sasuke-kun killed you at the Valley of End?" asked Orochimaru with a threatening sideways glance at Kabuto, who flinched. Quote, "What's this? No words. No proclamations about becoming the Hokage? Or defeating Sasuke-kun?" asked Orochimaru, trying push the blonde to give him something, anything. Quote, "I see. It only the face which remains of the old Naruto I knew, huh? Well, who knows, maybe you still are as weak as those years ago. We'll find out eventually, right?" again tried Orochimaru. Quote, "What are you here for? Come on, tell me," asked Orochimaru, finally feeling insulted by the lack of reply from the blonde standing in front of him. Naruto said nothing, but he raised his right hand and pointed at the ring secured on Orochimaru's index finger of his left hand. "All the property of the Akatsuki must be recovered," said the Akatsuki. Orochimaru glanced down at the ring and gave a smirk. Therefore, the brat was here for the ring. Orochimaru wasn't fool enough to just give up such a valuable asset. This ring had helped him in evading the Akatsuki for so long, there was no way he was giving up a ring of such importance now. "Sorry, Naruto-kun, but you see, I don't want to give it up. So why don't you try and play with my colleagues? I am sure they will entertain you," said Orochimaru as he turned around and took a seat on his throne. Naruto gave no indication of answering as the Sound Four started to encircle him, weapons at ready. Tilting his head a little, he eyed the largest man among the group, who suddenly went stiff as stick before going back to normal. Others seemed not to notice it and started to prepare to take out the man posing threat to their master. Just they tried to attack the blonde, Jirobo, as that right? Jumped in front of the web-shooting ally of his before assaulting him with lightning-fast punches. This caught everyone else by surprise, which Naruto utilized with pleasure as he shot forward and, using a wind-enhanced fist, tore out the obvious leader's abdomen. The unlucky guy started trying to somehow stop the bleeding but soon met the ground with a loud thud. Just after a few seconds, Jirobo was finished too as his opponent was beaten to a pulp. Tayuya, who was scared shitless, jumped back to gain some distance. She was confused why Jirobo will suddenly start attacking them instead of the Akatsuki standing in front of them. Before she could solve the puzzle, Naruto suddenly disappeared, making her tighten her guard as her eyes darted from side to side. Naruto appeared behind Jirobo, a short tanto gleaming in his hand as he delivered a strike, separating his head from his body in one swift motion and thus effectively ending the life of the third member of the Sound Four squad. Tayuya was too shocked to do anything to save the fat shinobi, but she managed to gather her thoughts and calm her nerves. Naruto was about to move towards Tayuya in order to finish her off when she suddenly took out a flute and started to play a melody. Naruto felt his vision go blur as the genjutsu of the melody started to have its effect on his field of vision. Fortunately, this was a visual genjutsu, which meant that his Sharingan could cancel it out easily. Shooting forwards towards a scared Tayuya, Jirobo's head still in his hand, Naruto made a beeline towards Orochimaru. Just as he had anticipated, Tayuya jumped in front of him in order to obstruct his path. Following the strategy he had come up with earlier, Naruto jumped towards her and without using his tanto he just pushed the dead man's head in her hands before shoving her to the side. "Hold this," said Naruto in a monotone as he completely ignored her expression of disbelief and leapt away from her, in the direction of Orochimaru. Just as he landed on the floor, Tayuya's ears caught a sizzling sound which made her eyes go wide with realization. Attached to the back of Jirobo's head was an explosive note, an activated explosive note. She quickly tried to throw it away but only managed to avoid having it explode in her own face. Boom! Out of the smoke came the flying body of a limp Tayuya who was either dead or at the very least knocked out. Landing in front of the seated snake Sannin, Naruto pointed his tanto towards the finger adorning the ring. "Return the ring and I will make it as quick as possible for you," said the Akatsuki as he pushed some lightning chakra in the tanto, making it go bright blue to emphasize his words. Ku, you have seriously grown into a fine shinobi, Naruto-kun. To take out the sound 4 within a span of mere 60 seconds like that. Unfortunately, you have sparked my interest in that body of yours. Yes, you see, the body of a Jinchuriki is full of secrets, dangerous yet interesting and fascinating. That's the reason I tried kidnapping your mother Kushina. Hearing this, Naruto started to feel a headache that felt like someone was ringing bells in his brain, a hammer hammering at your brain's nerve cells. Deep inside the head of the blonde shinobi, a seal appeared out of nowhere and started to vibrate. Faster. Naruto staggered on his feet as he reached for his head with his left hand, covering his eyes and forehead. Orochimaru, on seeing the effects of his talk, smiled and with a smirk continued. Those Nuke Iwa nins were such a failure, being defeated by a brat such as that Namikaze. Faster. I should have taken that red head for myself, killed the Nuke nins as well as that blondie. Faster. Then I could have killed her myself and used her body the way I saw fit. Crack. A crack appeared on the seal as its vibration came to a halt. The swaying of Naruto also came to a sudden stop as his Sharingan activated automatically. Staring at his hand as he was still covering his forehead and eyes with it, Naruto quickly regained his stoic composure as he remembered the training of his master. He was sure Zetsu was somewhere in this area, recording the events to show then to his master. This was a test his master had assigned him. According to him, this will help in getting him in the Akatsuki. Hearing a couple of names will not stop him from completing the task given to him. The task of the retrieval of the 11th ring and the execution of Orochimaru. Maybe he should have taken up that offer of help Gurren had offered. Deactivation his Sharingan, he removed his hand from his face as he stared at the Sannin in mild boredom. His eyes showing annoyance as he was getting fed up with this guy calling him Naruto-kun. Who the hell was this Naruto fella wasn't his concern, but as far as he could remember he was Uchiha Obito, his master's only pupil. Kabuto, Kimamaru-kun, kill him please, I have had enough of his intrusion in our matters, ordered Orochimaru as his expression suddenly became that of an irritated father displeased by his children. Hi Orochimaru-sama, came the reply from both shinobi as they sprang into action and jumped towards Naruto. Sensing danger, Naruto leapt away just as hundreds of bone spikes rained on his position, curtsy PF Kimamaru. Landing in a crouching position, Naruto sensed another attack coming from his right and twisted his body just in time to dodge the lethal chakra scalp of Kabuto. Twisting his body further and grabbing the outstretched arm of the Med Nin, Naruto delivered a bone-shattering kick to Kabuto's right shoulder. Kabuto was sent flying as Kimamaru appeared in front of Naruto, two of his elbow bones in his hands, and started to shower him in strikes of excellent precision. Naruto quickly paddled backwards, drawing his tanto in the process and started to parry the strikes. On seeing that his strikes were being either parried or blocked, Kimamaru increased his speed and started to mix surprised alterations in his attacking pattern. This seemed to do the trick as some of the strikes started to come quite close to hitting Naruto. Just as Kimamaru delivered a strike, Naruto's tanto and the free hand blocked both his strikes. However, before he could shake off the strikes, a bone extended from Kimamaru's elbow and nearly pierced him in the left shoulder. Getting aware of his sudden situation of desperation, Naruto slammed a wind-enhanced fist on the bone swords of his opponent, shattering them in the process. However, before he could retaliate the elbow bone's sudden attack, Kabuto appeared behind him. The silver-haired medic kicked him in the back, sending Naruto flying in a sidewall. Twisting himself in mid-air, Naruto managed to land feet first on the wall before rebounding on the medic. Using Kimimaro, who was facing the other side, as a balance point, Naruto delivered a lightning-charged kick to Kabuto's ribs before following up with another one on his right thigh. With his thigh femur now shattered, Kabuto fell flat on his ass on the floor as his ribs started to puncture his left lung. Expecting his special healing ability to kick in, he was surprised to find that Naruto had used some lightning chakra in his strikes, electrocuting his chakra pathways in that area and numbing his muscles. It meant he would not be getting the edge of his healing in this fight. Grinding his teeth in pain, he struggled to stand up. On the other side of the arena, Naruto was being pushed back by Kimimaro. Kimimaro now remembered him. He recognized Naruto as one of the shinobis sent by Konoha to retrieve Sasuke. This realization only helped in angering him more, as now he knew that this shinobi in front of him shared a bond with the traitorous Uchiha. Giving a battle cry, he reached behind his neck before slowly pulling out his own spine. Whipping it like a leash, he straightened it to form a long sword of pointy protrusions. Naruto cocked an eyebrow at that and readjusted his grip on his tanto, readying himself for the onslaught that was sure to come. And it came. Kimimaro suddenly appeared on Naruto's left, his sword in mid-swing aimed at the Akatsuki's torso. Naruto displayed excellent agility as he leaned backwards to let the swing pass over his face. Jumping up at the same time, Naruto delivered a knee to the nose of his assailant, breaking it without an effort. Kimimaro staggered backwards as his nose started to bleed profusely. Without wasting the interval it provided, Naruto sprang into action as he launched himself head-first in the abdomen of Kimimaro. The said shinobi was forced to cough up some blood as Naruto crashed head-first in his body. The blonde's head collided with his chest while his shoulder did the same with his stomach. Forcing down the bile that was about to come out of his mouth, Kimimaro leapt back to create some distance. Naruto would have followed him if his path wasn't blocked by a snake. The snake hissed as his fangs dripped with deadly poison. Naruto stared at the snake for a while before fixing Orochimaru with a stare. Orochimaru, who was still sitting on his throne behind the snake, smirked and stood up. His eyes shining yellow in color as he slowly started to walk down the altar. His eye never-ending contact with Naruto's as he came down to stand beside the snake blocking the Akatsuki's path. Did you really thought that you, a single Akatsuki, could just walk in my lair and demand a ring that clearly belongs to me? Asked Orochimaru as he raised his hand to stroke the back of the snake on his side. That ring belongs to the leader of the Akatsuki, not you, answered Naruto in a tone that would have made Uchiha Madara sound emotional. Orochimaru gave him a quizzical look before continuing. That means the leader of the Akatsuki must come here to claim what is supposedly his, isn't that right, Naruto-kun? He asked as he gazed inside the eyes of his opponent. No hesitation, no regret of killing the Sound Four, and certainly no fear, thought Orochimaru as he studied Naruto's eyes and posture. Well trained, stance of that of a sword master, he is not the brat I remember. Leader Sama has many important businesses in need of his attention. You on the other hand are not one of them, came the smart-ass reply from the same stoic Naruto. Orochimaru's smirk slipped right off of his face at this comment. He frowned as his tries of forcing Naruto in a desperate position were nullified by the said blonde. Until now, he was trying to avoid fighting the Jinchuriki due to his condition, but now he just wanted to teach him a lesson. He shouldn't have messed with the strongest Sannin like that. Finally deciding to act, Orochimaru dashed forwards at Naruto in order to surprise him with a straightforward attack. Unfortunately, this Naruto wasn't the old one. This one was a shinobi trained to break down each and every defense as well as attack formation or strategy. As Orochimaru came in his fighting region, Naruto suddenly took out a kunai out of his sleeves and leapt towards the Sannin to meet him in mid-air. Both the fighters were locked in a battle of kunais and shurikens for a short while before Orochimaru decided to switch to ninjutsu. A mistake. Kage no Habi, snakes of shadows, exclaimed Orochimaru as he slammed his hands together. Immediately Naruto leapt back in order to dodge the sudden snake-like shadow creatures emerging from the floor. Suigaden, water release. Water Fang bullet, whispered Naruto as he made hand seals with one hand while cutting down the snakes with the kunai. He quickly spat about a dozen churning water bullets in Orochimaru's direction. On sensing the danger, Orochimaru was forced to end his jutsu and dodge the attack by jumping to the side. Naruto was about to continue his assault, but Kimamaru appeared in front of him, blocking his path. If you want to attack Orochimaru-sama, then you'll have to defeat me first. He shouted as his body started to tremble. One by one his ribs started to extend and all the bones in his body started to thicken. He started to scream in pain as he exerted his body to its limits. As his transformation finished, he emerged from the dust as a body creature of sorts. All over his body, spiky bones were protruding in all directions as he panted a little before looking eyes with Naruto. Naruto's eyes showed nothing at all. All Kimamaru could see was his own reflection in them, nothing else. Growling in a throaty voice, he dashed toward Naruto in blind rage. Naruto stared at his opponent as he examined his transformation. His eyes caught a weakness of this boy's bloodline and he was going to exploit it while killing him. He started to exchange blows with the transformed shinobi as his eyes remained focused on his opponent's face, never leaving it even for a split second. He was waiting for an opening but was yet to get one from the Bone Pulse user. When he was unable to get an opening after a long period of fighting, he decided to use another way. After setting up the requirements, he suddenly dashed forwards and rammed a shoulder in his opponent, wrapping his hands around the surprised Kimamaru. He stared at the bone user before narrowing his eyes. Your nose is still bleeding from that kick I gave you. It seems that your Kekkei Genkai allows you to pull out your bones and regenerated them almost instantly. I have a question, does it works for your skull the same way? Asked Naruto as another Naruto appeared right behind Kimamaru, a Raiden-charged katana in his hands posed to pierce Kimamaru's skull in a fraction of a second. Kimamaru sensed the presence behind him and turned his head to gaze at the identical Naruto behind him. Gasp. Schlick. The katana went straight through his temple and came out of his neck behind the ear. His eyes immediately glazed over as the bony protrusions on his body started to fall off of his body. At the same time, the Naruto in front of Kimamaru exploded in a cloud of smoke, signifying its identity as a Kage Bunshin. Kimamaru's body landed on the floor with a cold dull thud. The once great clan now disappearing in the history forever. Pulling out his katana from the skull of Kimamaru, he stopped sending the chakra in his weapon, which resulted in the katana transforming back in its Tanto form. Giving it a sharp swing downwards, Naruto got rid of the blood on its blade before depositing it back in its hidden place in his sleeves. The Tanto disappeared in the midnight dark Akatsuki cloak. Turning to look at the coughing Orochimaru, Naruto started to walk towards the Sannin, kunai in hand. Orochimaru saw Naruto approaching and stood up from his crouching position. Stretching out his jaw, a handle came out of his throat that he grasped in his hand before pulling it out swiftly. The famous Kusanagi appeared in its full glory as the Sannin gave it a few test swing to remember the balance of his greatest weapon. Satisfied with the weapon, he pointed it at the approaching Akatsuki before smirking in his direction. It wasn't a good idea to just barge into my hideout and kill my most loyal minions, Naruto-kun. I was thinking of using that body of yours for myself in future, but now I have changed my mind. I will kill you right here right now and your body will become a nice researching subject in my lab, announced Orochimaru as made his move by sending a gust of laser-sharp wind directly at Naruto. Naruto quickly dodged the attack by sidestepping the wind blade. He made a few hand seals before whispering. Sweden. Bakusui Shoha, water release. Exploding water shockwave. A large size of water wave appeared out of thin air and went straight towards a wide-eyed Orochimaru, who quickly disappeared under the ground to save himself from the devastating jutsu. Once the water had calmed down enough, Orochimaru appeared above the water surface only to find himself in a tight situation. All around him, about a dozen Narutos stood with their own tantos drawn, vibrating from the highly dense futon chakra flowing through them. Orochimaru mentally berated himself for underestimating Naruto, even after seeing his abilities in his fight against Kimamaru and Kabuto. He should have known better after Naruto revealed himself as a member of his former organization, Akatsuki. The standards of Akatsuki were quite high, and if Naruto was given an important mission like the retrieval of his ring, then he more than fulfilled the requirements of Akatsuki. He was an S-class shinobi, a feat even the famed Hatake Kakashi had yet to achieve. His pause of rethinking his actions was yet another mistake, as the clones did not stand idly all this time. As soon as he realized his mistake, a volley of fireballs were racing towards him from all directions. Cursing, he tried to dodge them to the best of his capability, yet at the very least 3 fireballs made direct contact with his body. His screams of agony were mixed with the sound of water waves under their feet extinguishing the fireballs. Naruto dismissed his clones as he stood on water waves, an emotionless expression present on his face as he scanned his surroundings for any signs of the snake Sannin. When he failed to do so, he activated his Sharingan. This time he saw the chakra signature swimming towards him under the water. Tightening his grip on the hilt of his tanto, Naruto charged it with Raiden chakra before leaping upwards with the help of chakra. He reached the still intact ceiling of the chamber and used chakra to stuck himself feet first to the ceiling. Pinpointing the location of Orochimaru under the water, Naruto overloaded his tanto with the Raiden chakra before throwing it in the Sannin's direction. The tanto tore through the air at lightning fast speed before coming in contact with the water. It didn't stop there though and continued on its path until it was buried in the water-covered floor. The chakra loaded in the tanto burst out and a current of electricity ran throughout the water, electrocuting Orochimaru under the water. Orochimaru came out of the water and crashed on a collapsed boulder. Coughing out water and blood while his burnt body hissed as steam came out of his third-degree burns. He turned his head to curse the one responsible for his condition only to lock eyes with the one thing he wanted the most, a fully matured Sharingan. Gasping a little in both surprise as well as lack of breath, Orochimaru stared in those orbs of power with pure astonishment. This isn't a genjutsu, he really have the Sharingan, the question is how? Thought Orochimaru, but instead of brainstorming the possible reasons he decided to first get those eyes and then find out about their source. Quickly shredding his burnt skin, Orochimaru took his snake form intending to intimidate Naruto with his appearance just as he had done with Sasuke. Orochimaru soon realized that the boy, no man in front of him was no Sasuke. Naruto didn't even batted an eyelash on his sudden transformation and just stared towards him like nothing new had happened. Orochimaru made his way towards Naruto, using chakra to snake his way on the walls of the hideout. Orochimaru, it seems you have gone too far in your conquest for immortality, let me help your soul get some much-needed rest. In the name of Master Madara-sama, I will now pass his judgment on you for your crimes, stated Naruto as he raised his left hand. Intently, a blue spiraling ball of pure chakra appeared in his hand before he started pumping the Kyuubi's Yukai in it. The ball started to turn red in color with blue outline as it started to vibrate with the overloaded energy. Orochimaru stopped in his tracks as he started at the energy ball in fear. If that made contact with me, then it's safe to say even Manda's skin will not be able to save me, thought the snake transformed Orochimaru as he shifted his gaze towards the price of this risk, Naruto's Sharingan. Suddenly the Rasengan look-alike technique in Naruto's hand vanished in thin air. Naruto stared at his left hand in confusion. Orochimaru smirked as he dashed forward and captured the distracted Akatsuki. Without any further ado, he quickly started the soul transfer technique as he felt himself gaining the control of Naruto's body as the boy's soul was being forced out of his own body. After the ritual technique was complete, Orochimaru opened his eyes and stared at his surroundings. The destruction of his hideout was a cheap price to pay in exchange of Sharingan, he thought as he stared at his hands. They were still the tanned hands of Naruto and he could still feel the Akatsuki cloak over himself. It seems the soul transfer was a success. He smirked as he turned around to walk towards his throne to occupy it. He froze in his steps as he found the Akatsuki member sitting cross-legged on his throne, a bored look on his face as his Sharingan shone in the mild darkness of the hideout. How was it possible? He had killed the brat with his own technique. There was no way in hell he could have survived that, and yet here he was, sitting in his own throne without a care in the world, looking bored. What? How? How are you alive? I killed you myself, asked Orochimaru in confusion as he unconsciously stepped back to gain some distance from the Akatsuki. Naruto only remained stoic as he stared at Orochimaru with his Sharingan. Orochimaru felt as if his very soul was being judged by the Sharingan shining in Naruto's eyes. Suddenly he started to deduce the possibilities. As soon as realization dawned on him, he first stared at Naruto, whose Sharingan started to spin as if showing Naruto's amusement. Orochimaru quickly made his way to the water on the floor before looking in it. Instead of Naruto's reflection, he saw his snake form staring back at him. Genjutsu, muttered Orochimaru as suddenly cracks started to appear around him. He looked at his hands and found cracks on them too. Stumbling backwards in surprise, Orochimaru forgot to use his chakra to cancel out the genjutsu and paid for it dearly. As the world around him started to fall piece by piece, Orochimaru was slowly but surely pulled back out of his imaginary realm. The first thing to greet him was the same jutsu he had witnessed disappearing a while back. Naruto was standing in front of him, the water on the floor surprisingly gone. This is it, Orochimaru, this is your end. Now disappear, said Naruto as he pushed the jutsu in a now human Orochimaru's torso, instantly reducing it to ashes. Orochimaru didn't have the time to even gasp in surprise before the jutsu started doing its devastating handiwork on his body. Smell of burning flesh hit Naruto's senses as Orochimaru's body started to turn into ash. Pushing his jutsu a little downwards, Naruto forced the ball in the ground before hurriedly reaching out and yanking the ring from Orochimaru's finger. Naruto wasn't planning to stay anywhere near the vicinity after activating the last stage of the jutsu and instantly used Shunshin to disappear from the area. Slowly the power surging from the jutsu increased tenfolds as a semi-sphere of red energy expanded outwards from Orochimaru's last known location. It continued to expand until it was almost touching the high ceiling of the hideout, and then boom! At the same time, Sasuke appeared on the branch of a nearby tree. His eyes grew wide on seeing the power of this jutsu, thought the feel of this chakra was somewhat familiar to him, but he paid it no heed. He almost fell from the branch when the jutsu exploded, sending rocks, boulders and other kind of debris in every direction at high speeds. Sasuke had to stab his sword in the tree's trunk in order to keep himself attached to the vegetation. Sasuke was thankful when the explosion died down, but unfortunately, for him, it was just the calm before the real storm. Even before the smoke could settle down, the jutsu in the epic center of the technique came back to life before exploding with 3 times the power of the last explosion. BBOM X3. This time Sasuke wasn't lucky and the tree under his feet was uprooted from the ground. The tree along with Sasuke was sent flying backwards in the forest as many trees in the vicinity followed its example. Sasuke crashed about 50 meters in the forest before a branch fell on top of his head, knocking him out. At the hideout, the dust cloud started to settle down as Naruto appeared in a flicker on the trunk of an uprooted tree, observing the area with his Sharingan. He stared at the place where Orochimaru died with an expression of suspicion before shaking his head and glancing down at the ring on his palm. Staring at it for a while, he pocketed it and was about to move and finish of the last 2 surviving subordinates of Orochimaru before Zetsu emerged from the tree beside him. Where were you going? Asked Zetsu as he stared at Toba's weapon with interest. To finish off the last 2 survivors, answered Naruto without looking at Zetsu. You must leave the area now, Madara has summoned you, and if you must know, Uchiha Sasuke is here and he shouldn't be allowed to see you at any cost. Return back to the hideout now, ordered Zetsu as he frowned at seeing the way Naruto refused to respect him all of a sudden. Naruto gave it a little thought, but he decided to follow the orders. After all, his master needed him for something. With that in mind, Naruto quickly made a quick set of hand seals before disappearing in crackle of lightning. After Naruto left, Zetsu turned towards the destroyed hideout of Kusagakure. Now let's see who do we have here. Sunagakure. Cage Tower. Sama, shouted the panting Chunin as he barged in the office of his village's leader with an expression of desperation on his face. Sabuko no Gaara raised his gaze from the paperwork covering his work table and met the desperate gaze of his subordinate. The Godime Cage was many things: murderer, Jinchuriki, a cage, but an idiot he was not. He knew right away he was going out of his office for this one. Thus, without saying anything, he stood up and strapped on his sand gourd on his back. Turning around to face the Chunin, he addressed him. "We can talk on our way out. Follow me and report while you at it," ordered Gaara as he made his way to his office's door, shortly followed by a startled Chunin. Reaching the roof of his command tower, Gaara saw the hustle-bustle of his people down in the streets of the great village of Suna. In the distance, he could also see the shinobi guards of village gates with suppressed fear. What was it this time that was forcing even trained shinobi act like that? Turning to stare at the Chunin standing behind him with his black highlighted eyes, Gaara gave him a look that meant, "Talk. We have confirmed the reports of the Desert Guard. There are 2 individuals on the route to our village. The reports have confirmed that these 2 shinobi are garbed in black cloaks with red clouds, meaning they are from the international organization Jiraiya-sama informed all the villages about, the Akatsuki." Gaara turned to stare at the endless walls of his village. His red hair swayed with the evening wind of the desert as his tattoo of love was revealed to the desert. Only 2 shinobi? Why will they send only 2 shinobi? Are they underestimating the might of Sunagakure? Thought Gaara as he turned around once again. "Are you positive there are only 2 hostiles?" he asked as to confirm something. The Chunin gave a curt nod. "Yes, Kage-sama, that's what the reports say," he replied. "I see," muttered Gaara as he raised his hand to rub his chin in thought. "What are the orders, Kage-sama?" asked the Chunin as he began to fear that even his cage didn't know what to do. "Oh yes, tell the guards to close the gates, all of them. Barricade every exit and entrance and send in the Anbu commander to my office. All the shinobi under the rank of Chunin are to be stationed at the public areas to control the crowd. Also station some of the Chunin, including yourself, to the shelters of the villagers. I'll deal with these 2 Akatsuki myself," ordered Gaara as he started to walk back to his office. The Chunin took off as soon as Gaara's gaze left him. "Finally, Akatsuki, huh? We'll see what your intentions are, but at any cost I will protect my village with my very life," thought Gaara as he turned to go inside his office to come face to face with his Anbu commander and his brother. "The Sato is in danger. We will need every shinobi available to get out of this situation without causalities," said Gaara as he entered his office followed by both the shinobi. The door was closed and not a single word was heard out of the office to tell you the tale about it. "Don't worry, your humble author is still standing outside the door to tell you everything in detail." "Damn, now where is the keyhole for peeping in this door?" exclaimed Namikaze Minato.